everyone, and welcome to Your Business Morning, this September 11th, 2018. I am boasting number 5. It's the 18th anniversary in memory of nearly 3,000 people that died in the horrific 4 aircrafts hijacked by 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists to wreak havoc on the United States on September 11, 2001. 2 planes were slammed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in downtown Manhattan, New York City. One of the planes hijacked was rammed into the Pentagon building, and the 4th taken down by passengers on board on the field of Pennsylvania. The terror attacks about 19 years ago cost estimated $10 billion damage in infrastructure and property, and Wall Street was closed for a few days. New York Stock Exchange was shut for a few days, but reopened on September the 17th. The world today remembered that very horrific day of terror. So let's get on to the business of this day, bread. This is it. Here you can see this is one of the, what are called a premium brand, if you want to say that. It's about 400 naira per loaf, and that's the story this morning from Homeland, Nigeria. Premium bread makers says the shelf prices of this product is set to go up because the cost of baking the ingredients have been steadily trending higher over the last 3 years. The bakers says high prices of baking materials have tripled over the last 3 years, while prices of premium bread brands largely unchanged. The bakers says they're blaming the high cost of sugar, flour, yeast, including diesel, which is not a direct input into bread, but of course, you can hardly run a bakery on what you call the petrol generator. So most of the bread makers say they use diesel, and then that's part of the cost because of the cost of diesel price over the last 3 years. And they went on to complain that most of them, they said they got loans with double-digit interest rates from financial institutions to fund their bakery projects, and repaying those loans may become very difficult. Straight to the world of telecommunications. This is already in the news, but of course we just have to put it as part of our headlines today. Telco giant MTN, Nigeria Communications Limited, has dragged the Attorney General of Nigeria and the Central Bank to the court seeking a restraining order against the two institutions from giving effect to the $2 billion tax arrears bill and the return of what is called illegally repatriated FX monies of $8.13 billion US. MTN, in the papers filed at the Federal High Court in Lagos, says the move was necessary to protect the company's assets and shareholder rights within the laws. MTN Nigeria Communications head of communications or corporate communications, Toby Okibo, says the allegations being made against MTN involve issues that appear to be complex and are easily misunderstood and misinterpreted by some members of the public. The telco, however, maintains it committed no illegality in the matters relating to the offenses leveled against it by both the Attorney General Office and the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's it. So, would we have a sunset on the market street as we speak? This was one major conversation yesterday, and the stock market fell 1.25%, led largely by consumers, banks, and insurance companies on the counters. The NASD did not fare much better anyway, also fell about 0.2%, while trading activities was a lot more concentrated. The secondary window of treasury bills and bonds, we call it the fixed income. But first, let's take this bread prices straight to the marketplace. My colleague, Temple Ashaju, is there at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Our studios there in downtown Lagos to bring us up to the market state. But Temple, you can have a loaf of this is one. This is a premium brand. I'm sure you eat bread as much as I do. Maybe this is not particularly your brand, but this is one premium brand. How much does it cost? That chocolatey one that you always bring to the office. About how much?
Okay, boss, and good morning.
And that's about how much? Yes.
Bread is good for all. I'm more concerned about the stuff. I think it was 200 naira or 300 naira thereabouts.
Yeah, but it's much smaller than this. About
made
half
of wheat,
of this, isn't
and
it?
chocolates, you know. But
Yes, yes. Now these bread prices...
It's about half of that.
Yes, about half of this. Very chocolatey, very sweet, but I need to watch my sugar level. But thank you for bringing that. It's been quite some time you brought it here. That's why I'm complaining now publicly. But again, these prices are going to go up because the bread makers say the cost of input of making this bread has gone up. We need to start thinking about that, where these prices will go. This is a common food in Nigeria, isn't it? It's a staple after rice.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. It is. I agree with you. And you have a couple of the suppliers listed here in the market under the consumer goods sector of the NSE, that's the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Incidentally, the price of Honeywell flour went up yesterday. Dangote flour is also one of the major suppliers, as well as flour meal, because these are companies that supply some of the condiments that are needed in the baking of bread in Nigeria. We'll keep fingers crossed. We'll see how this unfolds eventually.
Tempo, this is not a good time.
Around us there.
Tempo, this is not a good time for bread prices to go up. Schools just resumed. We're just paying school fees, and we need to put this in the kit for kids to go to school. This is not a good time for bread prices to go on air. To go up. But it's okay.
Perhaps it's the reason why we are going to be seeing the level of inflation numbers that will be released in the next 2 days. Some have projected an increase. Some have also projected a bit of a flat, like an unchanged number in the inflation rate. We'll see how it pans out, and, well, what can we do but to just continue to cope with this situation and hoping that the next general election will help us to change the narratives as things go on.
Okay, let's talk about the markets. I think it's from sunset. The political environment is casting a very big cloud over the customs trade where the market lives. Take us through some of the core numbers for yesterday.
So as part of the core numbers, like you said, the political tension is really, hitting the market at the moment, and that's how we fell to a 15-month low yesterday, and that amounted to over 150 billion naira losses. Index came down to the 33,000 region yesterday after the index, key benchmark indices now shed 1.25%, and we still have the equity capitalization at 12.2 trillion naira. In spite of all of that, yes, we saw volume dipping 137.6 million for a total value of 1.35 billion naira. And just all of that took place in just 3,104 deals. The banking sector was one of the major drivers for these losses that we had. We also had the consumer goods sector, talk about the heavyweights like Nestle, which lost 9.67% of its 1,500 naira huge value in this market, and that's brought down the index by 3.69%. The Nigerian breweries, which has also been dipping for some time now, yesterday down by 0.43%, was also one of the major reasons why we had the index that level yesterday. Banking sector, Neme Bank, Wema, Zenith, Access, GTB, all these banks were in the negative territory yesterday, and that just wasn't so impressive for the market. The sell-off, the negative sentiment persisted, and we now have the year-to-date level of the index. Year-to-date returns at 12.1%, week-to-date is down 3.5%. So if this level of trend continues till Friday, what we're going to have by Friday as a week-on-week analysis may not be funny at all. Market breadth, 11 gainers, and that's just against 21 decliners. Sunu Assurance from the insurance sector, which even still fell at 2.09%, was able to gain 10% yesterday. Nestle was the largest loser by 9.67%. As we said, Diamond Bank was the most active in terms of trades, doing 30 million units, and that was worth some over 40 million naira in the markets. You know, for the insurance sector, the whole recapitalization, tier-based minimum solvency capital policy issue is really concerning the markets to shareholders. The Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria, for example, has said it is likely to be suing the National Insurance Commission as a result of this untimely exercise, according to the shareholders. Now, this is a huge concern for investors in the market. That takes us to the energy market, where we saw movement in just 3 of the stocks that we track. Corn oil unchanged, with 40 oil was one of those stocks, and it actually went to the negative territory by 9.29%, and that ended up impacting the sector, the oil and gas sector, which fell by 0.52% yesterday. Another one that moved in the market yesterday was Global Spectrum Energy Services, which has not experienced much of trading till date. Yesterday, over 100,000 units of shares were traded, and to the loss of in terms of value now by 9.45%. You also have a 7.69% decline in the share price of Japan. For the unquoted securities markets, which is the NASD OTC, the USI also shed some weight yesterday by 21 basis points, with the USI still at 711 region. Market capitalization, 481 billion naira. The value decline as well as volume. We saw a 32% decline in volume and 67% decline in value. The volume boosters for these markets yesterday were Ensure, which is actually in the insurance sector of that market as well. You also have Union Bank properties from the real estate side of things. You've got CSCS and AfriLand. A major news for this market at this point in time is the Royal Friesland Campina Wamco has announced plans to invest 23 million euros in local make production. And if you notice in the last few sessions, that particular security, Friesland Campina Wamco, has been doing some volume in terms of trades. It's part of the dairy development program of the Dutch company in Nigeria. And now for the bond markets, where things were a bit mixed yesterday, but largely bearish. We saw interest around the 2027 securities. As you have on the screen, you have January 2026, 23rd of March 2025, and of course the 23rd of February 2028 as the securities that attracted investors' sentiment yesterday. Broadly speaking, the market theme was bearish. But you got sell-offs at the longer end of the curve, which is the 2036 and 2037s, where that saw the yields trading at 15.51% and, of course, 15.47% in some cases. You got yields consequently flat, as again, it was also marginal at some point. Then you got all of that driven by the local investors who are really looking for high rates in terms of the mid side of the curve now, given the kind of impacts that we've seen at the OMO auctions, primary market auctions on T-bills and in the money market side of things. Now, for the treasury bills, yesterday you got at the secondary market, which is the FMDQ, the November 2018, February 2019, October 2018 and November 2018 securities experiencing the trades that we have. So T-bill significantly generally was bearish. Yields trended higher by 35 basis points as a result of the sell-offs across the short and medium side of the instruments that we had. Market players are expecting higher stop rates at the forthcoming primary market auctions, where 136 billion naira will be auctioned by the DMO and the CBN. So we're seeing most of the bids are right now, traders are seeing 13% as the bids coming from investors, and this is saying that, well, we're going to be having the yields extending further, climbing higher as investors continue to demand for higher yields, more profits, more money from all of this kind of investment that they have in Boson.
Yes, thank you so much. Temple, quite a lot to digest there. But let's leave all of that for now. Thank you so much. Temple Ashaju, live from our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Give it 2 minutes. We're back to the business of bread.